Bribery Commission files 9 cases against former Deputy Minister Sarana Gunawardena. 3 former directors involved in tourism promotion remanded over financial frauds. What is the agreement reached between the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade and a US firm? Near Pota, a mighty pachyderm that terrorized Hambegamu, finally captured. Who owns the vehicles parked at Mumtaz Mahal, the old speaker's residence?
Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Nicola De Souza. We start off with a look at your top story. President Maithripala Sirisena met with the 12 students that obtained the top 10 spots at the 2015 Ordinary Level Examinations at the Presidential Secretariat this morning.
The achievements of the students at the 2015 Ordinary Level Examinations was appreciated by the President, who also granted each of them a laptop. Cash prizes were also presented by the President. Meanwhile, a book titled Nallur Kandaswamy Kovil, The Great Temple, written by Manager Programs of Shakti TV Uma Chandra Prakash, was handed over to President Maithripala Sirisena. This book details the rich history of the Nallur Kovil. Meanwhile, the President paid his last respects to Chandani Ratnayaka, who was the daughter of veteran singer Victor Ratnayaka.
The draft bill on the establishment of the Office of Missing Persons was signed by Speaker Karu Jayasuriya today. Meanwhile, Minister of Megapolis and Western Development Partly Champika Ranawaka said in Parliament today that the state-owned land in which the CSN channel was functioning on was given to the Rajapaksa Memorial Educational, Cultural, Social Services Foundation on a lease. It was given on lease to the Rajapaksa Memorial Educational, Cultural, Social Services Foundation.
When giving out this land, the conditions do not grant authorization for the initiation of a private television or radio station. So if a certain group has informed a company in violation of these conditions, what action is being taken against those groups?
This land had been obtained for the purpose of initiating activities related to social services and culture, not the initiation of a commercial activity. First and foremost, we have terminated this lease agreement. Secondly, we have sought legal advice on what measures could be taken regarding this.
A sum of 163,125 rupees has been given as the annual lease. So has this land in such an area been given on lease based on a government estimate?
The value is decided based on how the land is utilized. The leasing agreement says that the company was established on this land is for social services, cultural and educational activities, and the leasing amount was decided based on that.
You said that this company which obtained this land on a lease did not utilize the land for the stated purpose. If you terminated this leasing agreement, have you taken measures to reclaim this land and the other property that has been built on this land?
We have sought legal advice in that regard.
Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake says that the rupee is strengthening with the economic progress achieved by the government.
The depreciation of the rupee in comparison to the dollar from December 31st, 2014 to May 31st, 2016 was 6.9%. However, today that value has dropped to 6.5%. Due to the depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee to the dollar, international borrowing has risen by 506.974 million.
Borrowing and the depreciation of the rupee has resulted in more international loans being sought.
There was 1,300 million that was not repaid by the previous administration. With this situation, certain organizations that lent money looked down on us. So where there was a discrepancy of the borrowing of a country, that in fact has an impact on the rupee. Our aim is to strengthen the rupee and continue to reduce the arrears of the previous loans.
If a corporation has obtained a loan, it does not reflect as government debt. Loans obtained by the Bank of Ceylon does not come under the national debt. How does referring to a loan obtained by a corporation as one which affects national debt impact the exchange rate?
When the previous government did not have funds, they instructed the National Savings Bank to obtain 1,000 million US dollars. It was obtained in 2014. A loan that could have been obtained at an interest rate of 4 or 5% was obtained at an interest rate of 8.75%. There is a situation where 380 million US dollars of that loan cannot be used. What happened to the rest?
You're not answering the question.
Your third sub-question is also the same.
What measures do you hope to take to maintain stability of the rupee?
On the 5th of November, the Prime Minister unveiled the 5-year plan. In a few days, he will unveil the 1,500-day program. I am pleased to announce that our foreign reserves have increased to 6,900 million US dollars. Even at this time, the country receives 125 million US dollars per week. We have shown that this situation will strengthen the rupee. This will lead to a higher valuation of the rupee and the depreciation of the dollar will minimize gradually. The government faction of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, as well as local government representatives who represent the faction of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, convened media briefings in several areas today. Views were expressed on the SLFP's anniversary celebrations and the appointments of new organizers to the party.
If they have taken decisions to remove our leaders from their posts as organizers and chase them away from the party, then what is the point of us bringing a crowd for the convention? Therefore, local government representatives of the Nuwara Eliya district will not attend the party convention. All of us will contest the upcoming election under a party formed by Mahinda Rajapaksa and led by him. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party convention will be held in Kurunegala. I must very clearly remind you that not a single chairperson nor member of any local government body in the Kegol district will attend this convention.
During the media briefing, the local government representatives tore the letters calling for interviews for the local government election.
There was an idea to burn these letters, but since we love the party, we will not do it. But we say that we will not be going for the interviews and we are tearing these letters in opposition to the party secretary, Minister Duminda Disarnayaka, and Treasurer, Minister S.B. Disarnayaka. They are tearing up these letters and party applications and are making statements that if they cannot contest under the betel leaf, they will contest under some other leaf, or if need be, they will contest under the ganja leaf. Well, if you cannot contest under the betel leaf, find a more respectable leaf to contest under. Do you have to fall as low as the ganja leaf? Rally around the symbol of the hand of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party to emerge victorious at the local government election. I would like to remind all of them who are screaming that they will have to return to the Sri Lanka Freedom Party someday and hold discussions again. Why? Because all of them who are screaming will have no place to go. Maithripala Sirisena is not trying to split the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. He is trying to take the party forward together as one. If he had not taken up the leadership of the party after his election victory on the 8th of January and just let it go, what would have happened to the party today? I very clearly say that all of us who contested under the symbol of the hand in 1991 and who stuck with us since then will attend the convention in Kurunegala. Those who were elected as local government representatives of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party are now convening media briefings and are saying that they are not contesting with the chairman of the SLFP but with Mahinda Rajapaksa. But Mahinda Rajapaksa himself is saying at an event that he will not break away from the SLFP. So I really do not know whom these local government representatives have been deceived by. Ultimately, what will happen is that they will lose the support of Mahinda Rajapaksa and the SLFP both, and the United National Party is surely not going to take them either.
Welcome back to the news.
Several luxury vehicles have been parked and left to rust at the old speaker's residence in Kolpiti, Colombo, which is also known as Mumtaz Mahal.
Newsfirst captured footage of these vehicles that have lost their value over the sands of time.
The official speaker's house is now located in close proximity to the parliamentary complex in Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte.
These vehicles have been parked at the premises of Mumtaz Mahal, the former official residence of the Speaker, which is located down R.A. Dimil mouth in Kolpiti. Who owns these vehicles? Why are these vehicles simply parked here? What purpose will these vehicles serve? Who had left these vehicles here to rust? These are some of the questions that could be raised by anyone who witnesses the manner in which they have been parked. Although this sign notes that this area is property of the Ministry of National Heritage, there is no way to confirm that these vehicles actually belong to the said ministry. Newsfirst attempts to contact the respective authorities for an inquiry in this regard proved to be futile. Are these vehicles that are said to have been misplaced during the previous administration?
Various parties have levelled allegations that some unacceptable transactions that took place during the tenure of the previous government are now taking place under the Good Governance government.
They cite the agreement reached between the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade and a US firm as one example of such actions.
Speaking to Newsfirst today, Secretary to the Ministry Chandani Wijewardena noted that this agreement was signed after obtaining cabinet approval.
The agreement between the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade and Sandal Travis and Rosenberg, also known as STNR, was signed by Secretary to the Ministry Chandani Wijewardena and J. Nicole Bivens Collinson, the President of International Trade and Government Relations at STNR. According to Chandani Wijewardena, the proposal regarding this agreement was submitted to the Cabinet Subcommittee on Economic Management on the 25th of May. She also revealed that cabinet approval was granted for this agreement on the 14th of June. The Secretary to the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade added that it was the Sri Lankan Embassy in the United States that conducted research and nominated STNR as a suitable firm. According to Chandani Wijewardena, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was made aware of this agreement when the proposal was submitted to Cabinet and also when assistance was sought from the Sri Lankan Embassy in the United States. The main aim of reaching an agreement with STNR, according to the Secretary to the Ministry, was to broaden the export base in USA as well as obtain tax concessions granted by USA to countries emerging out of a civil conflict. She also notes that this agreement was reached purely on economic reasons, adding that subjects such as politics and reconciliation are not covered through the agreement. It should be noted that the proposal, which received cabinet approval on the 14th of June, was signed in a short span of 2 weeks. Although the agreement came into effect on the 1st of July 2016, the agreement itself was signed on the 29th of July. According to the agreement, STNR will represent Sri Lanka in Washington, D.C. before U.S. government agencies and the U.S. Congress, focusing efforts on educating officials on the peace process in Sri Lanka, exploring options for great economic and commercial ties between the USA and Sri Lanka, as well as identifying and expanding options for market access of Sri Lankan goods into the United States. STNR has also been tasked with building better relations between Sri Lanka and political parties and members of the US Senate, as well as aid in development of agendas in order to assist visiting Sri Lankan delegations. The Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade has agreed to pay a sum of $630,000 for the services of STNR over 1.5 years.
If there is a real need, then filling that real need, the government must have its empowerment to do so. But in this particular case, this kind of activity had been done for years by our Sri Lanka's diplomatic mission. Ambassadors like Jayantha Dhanapala, Mr. Palihakkara, and others have done this activity so well in the past. But in the last regime, both the governor of the central bank and the supervising member of the foreign ministry resorted to this particular action as a strategy. Now that was totally criticized by civil society and also those in power today in this government. So that is why I find it very hard to believe those who 18 months or more before criticize the last government for doing that is continuing to do the same thing. Now if you take the diplomatic missions and our foreign service, they have capable people even today. If they are required to do something, they will put their best heart and soul.
Meanwhile, a national daily reported recently that plans are being made to pay a sum of $2 million to obtain the legal expertise of a foreign legal firm. According to the report, the law firm is tasked with drafting new laws as well as revising existing laws pertaining to the fiscal and monetary sector, as well as restructuring laws pertaining to real estate, property, intellectual property and taxes. Meanwhile, the Sunday Times reported on the 30th of August 2015 that a sum of $6.5 million was paid to an American firm on the 9th and 10th of September 2014 for lobbying purposes. According to the report, the money was released by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka based on the written request of then monitoring MP Sajin Divasgunawardena. The agreement signed between the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade and the US firm STNR was also taken up for discussion during the Face the Nation program Yard last night.
The relationship between the foreign countries and Sri Lanka was at stake. We all know. But at this moment, every country is coming forward to help Sri Lanka.
Then why such an agreement?
At this juncture, why do you need this? See, this is like what Sachin Gunawardena is doing, what he did, and today is before bribery, before FCID, all that. Then people were accusing, in that government there was a Malik, there was a Basil Rajapaksa and Sajin was who were doing it. But you have a Malik doing it now. This is the difference now. As people who voted for good governance, we are ashamed the way things are happening in this present government.
Why isn't agreements of this sort, like signing an agreement with a private agency in the United States to lobby against the wishes of most of the people, because we know for a fact that international relations are now somewhat strengthened between the West. And in a situation like that, why must the government go ahead and sign such an agreement under closed doors?
Like very many other instances, I do not see any justification in rushing into areas like this. There is no necessity for us to go and repeat the things that the previous government did. If it was good enough for Sachin Gunawardena to engage the services of some foreign agency, but how do we look at it today? We look at it today as a corrupt practice to take money from the government in an illegal way. So when a thing like that happens under this government, how do you want us to look at it? In a different way? And why should we look at it in a different way? When we obviously have an example where we have been accusing people for having done wrong things, when somebody is doing the same thing, repeating the thing, why should we look at it in a different way?
Mr. Salih, why is the government really holding the people at stake when they want to sign agreements of this sort, through a ministry in particular?
Actually, I saw the Prime Minister making a statement again in Parliament saying everything will be informed to Parliament. But when you ask this question, is the Parliament aware of this? This is not that what the people wanted. People wanted to know everything that is happening. People wanted the right thing to happen. People have gone through hell.
A report by the Committee on Public Enterprises has revealed that flaws in the Newsfirst.lk coal power plant resulted in several nationwide power disruptions in the recent past.
During the past year, 3 separate power disruptions took place that affected the entire country. On the 27th of September last year, the first disruption took place at 11:53 p.m. and the second island-wide failure took place on the 25th of February 2016 at 2:04 p.m. The third and final incident took place on the 13th of March 2016 at 2:20 p.m. According to the COPE report, the failure to carry out proper maintenance on the transformer was cited as one of the key reasons for the power failures. The report goes on to note that there were many shortcomings in maintaining machinery. The report also questions the credibility of the advice given by the Japanese firm who created the maintenance practices and timetables for the machinery. Shortcomings at the Newsfirst.lk coal-powered plant are also cited as a cause for the power failures. The COPE report adds that the supplier for the Chinese-funded power plant was chosen by China and adds that construction of the first phase took place under minimum supervision, while construction of the second and third phases also took place in a similar manner. It points out that the inspections to be carried out by the government of Sri Lanka in the first phase construction had not been carried out as well. In its inquiry over the power failures, COPE has called for a report inclusive of all details of all transformers in the country and the day they were put into use, maintenance dates and future maintenance dates.
Two former directors of the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau were remanded until the 8th of September after they were produced before the Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna today.
Former directors Nilmini Nanakara and Mervin Fernando Pulle were charged with defrauding 5 million rupees and criminal breach of trust. The suspects were produced in court after they were arrested by the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division. Former director of the Tourism Promotion Authority, Kitsiri Ranavaka, was also arrested by the Police FCID. He was produced before the Fort Magistrate and was ordered to be remanded until the 6th of September. He is accused of directing 5.7 million rupees from the Tourism Promotion Authority for activities related to the Uber Provincial Council polls.
The fifth project, which commenced under the Gamadha 100 Days initiative, was vested in the public today.
Gamadha 100 Days, Day 35.
Are these tasks that cannot be undertaken? Why did we elect governments? I believe that the officials of the Sirasa Media Institution are the ones that should steer the leadership of the country in the future.
The Chinagahabena Canal, which supplies water to over 190 acres of farmland in the Katduwa village in Malimba, Mathura, was vested with the public today following 12 days of work. In keeping with tradition, blessed water was sprinkled over the canal and was declared open in the presence of senior officials of the Capital Maharaja Organisation Private Limited.
If the entire country joins hands with Newsfirst, I believe that it will not be a difficult task to even clean up the entire nation. You are our strength. Without you, there is nothing much that a media institution can do. It is only when you join hands with us that we are able to undertake such large projects. Let's first construct tanks, clean up our rivers, and then let us clear the nation of corruption, fraud and laziness. Let's build a better nation for our future generations.
We have a small request from you. Just like you are receiving these benefits today, come together and help someone else in any way you can tomorrow. Remember that you possess the power.
We as the Newsfirst team do have a humble pride in what we have accomplished. Why do I say this? It is because we were able to vest this canal in the public within a span of 12 days. No authority has been able to do this. Now that we have vested this canal in you, it is your responsibility to protect it.
In line with the renovation of the canal, necessary steps were taken to uplift the ease of engaging in fishing activities for the villagers. Thereby, it could be termed as a multi-purpose development project. A certificate to prove that the project was completed in keeping with the proper standards was also presented to the Newsfirst team, while the Gamadha Savya Society was also established in the area today.
Gamadha 100 Days.
A wild elephant known to several villagers in Munaragala as Neapotta that terrorized many villagers in the area was captured by wildlife officials today. The wild elephant, which was captured following a week-and-a-half-long operation, has claimed the lives of 3 people.
The operation to capture the pachyderm was launched by a team including wildlife veterinarian in charge of the North Central Province, W.A. Dharmakirti, together with a Southern Province wildlife team. The operation was launched following reports that the elephant had mauled a father of 4 to death in the Megaswever area in Thanamalvilla on the 14th of this month. The victim was a 40-year-old resident of the Megaswever village.
It feels like we were liberated from a battle. We have been waiting for this elephant to be taken away since last week. We said that this elephant must be taken away so that it would not return.
Locals say the wild elephant, which has been dubbed Neopotta, had posed a constant threat to the lives of those residing in Hambegamu settlement, Alupwewa, Balaharawewa, Watambalawa and Megaswewa areas. According to our correspondent, the animal was captured close to a house in the Hambegamu settlement area.
We were notified to immediately capture wild elephant that had been terrorizing the Hambegamu and surrounding areas and was responsible for the death of several lives. In the operation, we discovered that there was an elephant pair responsible for this, and this elephant was leading the charge. We closely monitored its movements, and then at night we tranquilized it and captured it this morning.
Meanwhile, several deaths caused by wild elephant attacks were reported from several villages nearby over the past few weeks. On the 27th of July, an 8-year-old girl was mauled to death by wild elephant in the Anandpura area in Balaharawewa, Tannamalwila, while she was on her way to school with her grandfather. On the 9th of this month, a 52-year-old father of 3 was killed in a wild elephant attack in the Athulwewa area in Velawaya. On the 11th of this month again, a mother of 1 was brutally mauled to death by a wild elephant, which strayed into the Megahajaturu area in Suryawewa.
9 cases filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption against former Deputy Minister Sarana Gunabardhana were called before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court at Halsdorf today.
The 9 cases were filed on the basis that the Deputy Minister had caused losses to the state when he had leased vehicles for the National Lotteries Board during his tenure as chairman of the board. Charges levelled on 2 separate cases were amended when they were taken up for consideration before Magistrate Aruni Artigala. The magistrate thereafter ordered the cases to be taken up for consideration once again on the 6th of December.
Sri Lanka has expressed concern on the slow progress made over the decades on international multilateral nuclear disarmament.
A statement from the Permanent Mission of Sri Lanka to the United Nations in Geneva says that Sri Lanka affirms its support for the convening of a conference in 2017 to negotiate a legally binding instrument to prohibit nuclear weapons that would lead towards their total elimination. It adds that the agreement on such a negotiation would ensure the fulfillment of the UN membership at large. Sri Lanka's ambassador to the UN, Ravinatha Ariyasinghe, speaking at the Geneva Assembly-mandated open-minded working group on taking forward multilateral nuclear disarmament negotiations in Geneva, has stressed that this is an opportunity for states to come up with concrete steps on multilateral disarmament and encouraged making forward-looking recommendations to the General Assembly.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Shane Silva. Take care and
good night.